Ladies and gentlemen, could I invite you please to stand for the arrival of the Governor General, His Excellency Sir Patrick Allen, and for the playing of the national anthem. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Before I invite Sir Kenneth Hall to bring welcome and his usual warm greetings, I'd just like to recognize His Excellency, the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen. Welcome, sir. Very pleased to have you. I also like to recognize members of the Regional Eminent Persons Selection Panel, Sir Kenneth Hall and Mr. Chris Bovell, Mrs. Rima Hall, members of the Jamaica Nominating Committee, and I'm pleased to see our chair, Mr. Maurice Seymour, Dr. Kim Robinson Walcott, Professor Ishinkumba Kawa, Ms. Petrona Morrison, Dr. Brian Heap, and our sitting laureates, and I wonder why they sit at the back. Professor Michael Taylor, Monsignor Gregory Ram-Kisoon, Professor Terence Forster, Mrs. Claudette Richardson-Pius, Ms. Kimala Bennett, and regrettably, Mr. Kai Miller could not join us today. And ladies and gentlemen, help me recognize our distinguished 2020 laureate, Dr. Olivene Burke. As we continue to navigate this very difficult period, we'll hear from Sir Sridhar Ramphal, Mr. A. Norman Sabga, and the other laureates later. We'll get to meet them virtually. So, please join me by bowing your heads for the invocation. O God and Creator, goodness and perfection flow from you. How great are your fullness and wonder. We come to you today seeking your blessing, not only on those of us present, but on all peoples we represent. Almighty God, in the abundance of your glory, enable us to grow firm in power with regard to our inner selves, so that you may live in our hearts through faith, and then planted in love and built in love, with all God's holy people, we will have the strength to grasp the length and the breadth, the height and the depth, so that knowing the perfect love of God, which is beyond knowledge, we may be filled with the inner and utter fullness of God. We thank you for the life of Anthony Norman Sabga, by whose generosity and inspiration the notion of the Caribbean Awards for Excellence has come to fruition. May he enjoy eternal life. Bless, we pray, the laureates whom we recognize tonight, this afternoon, and endow each of them, their co-workers, their respective families, with grace and strength, so that their future work and witness be to the credit of their countries and be to your glory. We make our prayer knowing that from you all things come, and to you all things shall return. Amen. Sir Ken Hall, I now invite you to join us to do the very special welcome and opening remarks.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you for accepting our invitation to join us today for the 2020 ANSWER Caribbean Award ceremony in Kingston, Jamaica. I may tell you that this is the first of 4 ceremonies of this kind around the region, one in Trinidad, St. Lucia, and the other in Guyana. It is my honor to share the celebration and in the recognition of the significant achievements of our 2020 laureates in the areas of arts and letters, science and technology, public and civic contributions, and entrepreneurship that encourage and support the pursuit of excellence by Caribbean persons to redound to the benefit of the Caribbean region. Let me acknowledge the presence and welcome specifically and specially His Excellency the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen, ON, GCMG, CD, KSTJ, Governor General of Jamaica, who graciously assented to present the ANSWER Award this year to our Jamaican recipient, Dr. Olivene Burke. We acknowledge as well the chairman of ANSWER McCall Foundation, Mr. Andrew Sagba, and the chairman and members of the Eminent Persons Group panel, the members of the Nominating Committee of Jamaica, and other members of that committee to this extraordinary event. Let me single out a couple of names in this process, and that is my colleague and friend who is a member of the Eminent Group, Mr. Bovell, and the chairman of the Jamaica National Selection Committee, Mr. Morin, I thought I saw, yes, and other members of the nominating committee. Of course, I could not be here without acknowledging my current and former colleagues from the university and the other nominees, because the first recipients, we are very fortunate of this award. At least I've seen one, Monsignor, and is Professor Forrester here? No. And last year's nominee, recipient, of course, Professor Taylor, who is here as well. For the first time in the history of these awards, we are hosting 4 separate events, one in the home country of each laureate. The ANSWER McCall Foundation commends you and our other EPP members and partners on your responsiveness and cooperation for enabling us to host the first online staging of our ceremony. These activities are taking place, of course, in a changed environment. And what we are seeing here, normally, we would all be much closer. But in response to the changes of COVID-19, that has occasioned such dramatic changes in our behavior and what we can do, this ceremony would normally be the full room here in all three places. Today we have it in one, and as you can see from the distancing, we are forced to acknowledge that. But even as we celebrate the awards, let me and congratulate all the recipients of this year's Answer Caribbean Awards. Let me pause for a moment to commend the sterling work of the late Sir Royston Hopkins, KCMG, a former member of the Eminent Persons Panel. He worked tirelessly in tourism, hospitality, industry, and education for his native Grenada, and generally the wider Caribbean for more than 25 years. We are indeed saddened by his passing earlier this year in Trinidad. Yet we remain steadfast in our commitment to continue our privately funded and philanthropic recognition program in 2020, free of political and other influences, to herald the indomitable spirit, ingenuity, and tenacity of our laureates in their respective fields. Their contributions have certainly propelled sustainable regional development further amid the many challenges we face as one Caribbean family in these uncertain times. Never has such leadership and creativity been more important. Undeniably, all the nominees submitted by the country's nominating committees exemplified the integrity, the professionalism, and the very best of Caribbean service and thought on excellence that we envisioned the 2020 citizen of the Caribbean to be. Yet, it is the efforts and resources of all of us that are needed to respond to the global challenges in climate resilience, industry, innovation and infrastructure, and social and economic development, among others. Those we honor today have been brilliant beacons of how passion, vision, and cooperation can lead the way in pioneering new niches in the front lines in the struggle for sustainable development. From action in the entrepreneurial extractive industries to the social intervention in inner city communities, to astronomy and the arts, our 2020 laureates have implemented solutions which protect our indigenous artistic heritage, sustain economic systems while building renewable energy industry, reduce poverty through education, social intervention, and empowerment, and apply cutting-edge techniques in astrobiology to better understand the complexities of life in the universe. The inventiveness, diligence, and determination of this year's inductees are truly inspirational for all of us. Today, at the staging of this ceremony in Jamaica, we honor the innovation and stewardship of one Jamaican woman who so often work below the radar and against significant odds. Dr. Olivene Burke. Before saying everything about her, I have to confess and permit me on a point of personal privilege to acknowledge that we have known her for longer than we would like to say, and that we have worked with her. In fact, her first book was co-authored by my wife, by Lady Hall, so her elevation is very personal and dear to us. Congratulations, Olivene. Dr. Burke. She's a social scientist and has been the executive director of the University of the West Indies Mona Social Services since its establishment in 2008. Dr. Burke is the 8th Jamaican to receive this award since its inception in 2006 and joins the distinguished tradition of excellence and vision with her origination of 6 pillars of social intervention modeling, comprising education and training, health, sports, entrepreneurship, crime and violence reduction, and peace to strengthen underdeveloped communities in Jamaica. Under Dr. Burke's leadership, the MSS has transformed the lives and livelihoods of over 40,000 residents in 16 Jamaican communities. Her work stands as a call to arms for each of us to reflect on how we can do more for regional integration and development, one community at a time. May her commitment and resolve be our stimulus to action. Our heartiest congratulations to the 2020 laureate as well, all the others as well. And may you all persevere in the good works that have been your life's journey and still excel beyond your highest goals and aspirations. Our future Caribbean people and global citizens remain secure, and with confidence we embrace and support all who toil in fields of work for the development of our communities, our countries, our region, and our world. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please continue to enjoy the rest of the afternoon's Answer Caribbean Award ceremony. I thank you.
Distinguished Caribbean colleagues everywhere, excellence will not be curbed, nor will its salutation by the necessary rules of safety that the pandemic imposes. And so, we are here today in a different fashion to acclaim the very best of the Caribbean in an area of homegrown achievement of that excellence that nevertheless encompasses our entire region. 15 years ago, the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence broke new ground in looking out across our wide region and identifying from within our civilization individuals who had attained a unique level of excellence in notable fields of endeavor. In arts and letters, in public and civic contributions, in science and technology, and more recently, in entrepreneurship. Caribbean folk came to be identified as achievers above the call of merit, beyond the lines of distinction. Achievers for whom only the sobriquet of excellence would suffice. By the high plane of philanthropy thus innovated, and which the trustees of the Ansa McCall Foundation have sustained, the Caribbean Awards for Excellence have generated a new level of regional aspiration. I salute the new chairman of the Board of Trustees of the Foundation, Mr. Andrew Sabga. And I salute too, in the name of the entire eminent persons panel, the model of philanthropic hands-off that he and his colleagues at Ansa McCall have been in relation to these awards. Excellence takes many forms, and the foundation is itself one of them. In so handsomely and with integrity, rewarding excellence, the awards have enhanced Caribbean levels of ambition and set higher the bar of regional accomplishment. In his immortal Gitanjali, Tagore wrote over a century ago of a world where knowledge is free, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where tireless striving stretches its arms toward perfection. It was a world of excellence. It is our world. The 2020 awards, as they salute and support excellence in our Caribbean, lift our collective sights to levels of performance we often miss or even fail to believe attainable in our region. They thus advance the superlative, excellence itself, as the mean for all our activities. The Caribbean Awards for Excellence not only honor individuals, but by demonstrating through them the worthiness that is within our countries, they multiply the vistas of excellence attainable to them. This year, we celebrate in the homeland of each of our awardees their outstanding achievement. And you, our viewing audience, are all with our celebrant and our celebrant with you. That is as it should be, for tonight is an occasion of Caribbean excellence. I invite you all to share with us the joy of the conferment of the Caribbean Award for Excellence 2020.
Our distinguished laureates and their families, members of our regional panel of eminent persons, other guests, welcome to our 2020 awards ceremony. If a year ago someone told me that I would be addressing you via this medium, we would all be in disbelief. But the global pandemic has pushed us into a new normal, and therefore I must address you by this means rather than in person. But the more things change, the more they stay the same. Amidst the push into the digital technology and the reorganization of our businesses, social life, and economic activity, a few things of our past remain of premium importance. Some of these things are ingenuity, innovation, entrepreneurship. Even without technology that we are using at this moment, these are the human qualities that deliver us into a new, better world, and these are the very things that our founder, Dr. Anthony N. Sabger, valued above all else. So it is fitting that these awards remain his legacy to the region and to the world, that the Anthony N. Sabger Caribbean Awards for Excellence seeks out the knowledge and the skills so necessary for human, social, and economic growth and makes the knowledge available to all. So now, more than ever, as our laureates past and present are leading the way to alternative energy, medical science and entrepreneurship, and social intervention to help the less fortunate, our 2020 laureates magnificently provide us with the best examples of what we can do to solve our problems from within. Mr. Andrew Menz, our entrepreneurship laureate from Guyana, has transformed the logging industry, but he's also diversified from farming, alternative energy, and traditional energy. Dr. Shireen Hack, our science laureate from Trinidad and Tobago, adds the second woman to this category. Dr. Hack's field is astronomy, but she will explain to you the science used to gaze into the stars is of utmost importance here to us on Earth. Our laureate in civic contributions, Dr. Olivene Burke from Jamaica, as head of UWI Mona Social Services, has made remarkable and transformative interventions in Jamaica's most depressed communities. She has transformed lives, rejuvenated whole communities, and brought education and opportunity where there was none. And our final laureate, Mr. Jalim Yudovic of St. Lucia, is a sculptor whose work speaks to our present, past, and future of these islands. As always, the selection of these laureates is thanks to our hard-working and dedicated community nominating committees and the deliberation of our regional eminence panel. These exemplary people are the inner machinery of our awards, and I thank them. I congratulate our laureates in their respective territories, and I am confident that our laureates will be at the forefront of those leading our people out of the crisis into a better future. I thank you.
Guyana is a land of contrasts. Its vast natural treasures have been complemented by its newly discovered oil wealth. But to build a new country, especially from an underdeveloped one, a new attitude is necessary. And Andrew Mendez believes he has just the one.
The first thing is, a lot of times I'll go into sawmilling operations, logging operations, timber business, and a lot of sectors in Guyana in terms of even how businesses are run. And you try to get to the heart of, okay, why do you do this way, or why do you do things a certain way? The scariest answer for me has always been, it's because we've always done it that way. That's one. And the second thing is I find is that also people make the comment that, well, this is Guyana and that's how it works here. For me, that's consigning ourselves to mediocrity.
Mendez inherited a small family business which sold chainsaws and logging tools to the timber industry in the early 1990s. He soon transformed it in size and expanded into logging. He was able to bring change to a business that many thought was impervious to change.
The type of blade that we use on the sawmills increases the efficiency. So the blade that we actually use here, our company actually developed that blade profile and then got Wood-Mizer to make it. And then what happened is they found that it doubled the sharp life and increased production by 50% even in the US. So now it's become actually their second most popular selling blade in the US.
But Mendez's ideas of business profit go beyond financial gains. His innovations are aimed at conservation as much as extraction. He has written a book on logging and a code of practice for the local industry in cooperation with international agencies like the EU Forestry Commission.
A lot of people look at economics and the environment as two mutually exclusive domains, when in reality they're actually complementary.
Farfan and Mendez implemented a shift in the paradigm. The Guyana Forestry Commission and Guyana as a whole has entered into European Union forest law, enforcement, governance, and trade. This provides opportunities for Guyanese timber to enter into new markets, particularly in Europe, where higher prices than in the Caribbean and other markets are available. So the kind of initiatives that Andrew is taking on board and is pushing is where the country would like to go. Andrew's company has been able to put the practices that are done by operators throughout Guyana at an international level.
But he was constantly searching for opportunities, and two came from his family. His father was interested in solar power, so he invested in that. And his brother, Alex's talents, came into play when an opportunity arose to use the family's estate, Dubalay, for agriculture.
In April 2005, I moved back to the farm, and this was because we got an investment from Stein Seed to do corn and soybean seed, breeding. I actually developed fertilizer mixes, also, trace element mixes. I developed the whole irrigation system. We have 600 miles of drip tape.
The operation of the family's estate is more than an international joint venture. It provides opportunities for the residents of the community, mainly women.
It has given opportunities for up to 140 people from the community to work on the land. It gives them steady income year on year. They have, they pay NIS, and they also have private health insurance, so that for them and their families. We employ a significant number of women in the operation here. And that sort of fits in with Farfan and Mendez as a whole, in that over 50% of the managers in the company are women.
This is the sort of holistic thinking that has led to Mendez's success, and it is what sets him apart from his contemporaries in Guyana.
And it really takes a special individual to be able to put their ego aside, to actually reach out to others and to really accept what they have to say. And I'm sure he processes it. He might speak to multiple people and then figures out, okay, this is what I can depend on, this is what I can use in my decision making, and then move forward. But being able to set aside your ego and access what the world has to offer you is something I really wish people would pay more attention to and borrow it from Andrew.
It is this kind of thinking that has made FML and Panthera and Jaguar the only Guyanese companies to be poised to participate in the oil business as significant players rather than pawns.
Andrew's been very interesting in that he saw the opportunity going on in Guyana, and he realized that the way to do that was a lot different than others. First, he really tried to understand how his business could benefit. When Andrew started, there were no companies working offshore in Guyana. That was what we thought a long stretch would take a while as the center. In about 2 years, 18 months to 2 years, they've jumped. They're on the FPSO, they're working offshore. I think that's an accomplishment not only for Farfan Mendez, it's the fastest we've seen a transformation.
This kind of hard, rational approach is rarely combined with compassion and care for human and environmental capital. And the combination in Andrew Mendez makes him a transformational agent in Guyana.
We're not selfish in what we do. So we try to help other companies, say, by being open with them, come and see what we do, how we do it, try to get an understanding of why we made certain decisions and why we did things a certain way. When we share, amongst each other, we grow learning from each other.
For these reasons, Andrew Mendes of Guyana is the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence Laureate in Entrepreneurship for 2020. The Caribbean today is preoccupied with issues of economics, science, and politics. But there's another sphere of life just as important: the spirit of the bodies inside the machines. This is the sphere inhabited by Jalim Udovic, a sculptor from St. Lucia who, it seems, was born for this work. His father, Kenneth, was also an artist of some renown.
I was brought up in an art studio, but I was totally unaware of this until I was about 5 years old. But prior to my awareness of my surroundings and so on, I was always very, very fascinated with nature, puddles of water, wood grain, just about everything. I was that daydreaming kid.
His talent blossomed from an early age, and by young adulthood he had begun to make an impression on his national community. But his growth entered a new phase when he began to travel.
When I left St. Mary's College in 1999, I had an option to go to university, college, or to stay with my father. And my father was already probably approaching his 60s, by that time. And he being such a brilliant artist, I decided to stay with him for like a few years and to learn from the master himself. I immediately started to take part in some of the biggest exhibitions in St. Lucia, and that sort of put me on the local radar. The island and the powers that be began to recognize my talents, and I began to travel as an ambassador of St. Lucia, representing St. Lucia at various art exhibitions around the world.
His experiences in Niger, Africa, one of the poorest nations in the world, transformed him.
We went to Niger, Africa, the most impoverished country in Africa. So before we went, the entire delegation was inoculated. Africa, the perception is, there is festering disease and there is rampant poverty and that kind of thing. And what I found there was absolute unbridled creativity, without apology and without excuse, of people who had very little resources creating out of nothing. That's where I sort of broke away from my dad's style.
The work he produced in the aftermath established him as a serious artist.
He's become famous, let's not fool ourselves. He's well known as far as China, where much of his work is there, in UK, in the US, in the Caribbean, his work is known.
My art reflects my community and the aspirations of my community. I mean, my international diasporic community as a black man in the world, as a Caribbean man in the world, as a multicultural man as well, because as Caribbean people we are all these things.
Jalim's work participates in global discussions about race, the future, and technology. He was invited to show at the Stephen Lawrence Gallery in the UK, and he contributed a series of works called Coup de Main.
Coup de Main, it's about people helping, it's helping hands, people lending their talents and the skills and the labor to improve the life of a neighbor. So it happens one by one. It's the philosophy of all for one.
So his work speaks to the local and the global with one voice. His impact on his home community, though, has been considerable.
For us, he's well renowned in the international arena. In terms of the local citizens, last year we celebrated our 40th anniversary of independence. And Jalim was the one who really captured the essence of our independence celebrations for us in sculpture, in a monument, depicting our theme, All In. It was just testimony, to the quality of work that he does internationally and from whence he came.
What I admire about his work, again, he's a thinking artist. He did this monument, which is now in downtown Castries. The original name was Boat of Dreams, which I prefer. It's now called All In. But again, you look at the vision encapsulated as he imagined the first fathers coming to these islands and his whole structuring of the piece. I find that unique.
Jalim's recognition for these achievements has been a source of pride locally, but he has also created opportunities for service.
Being a child of the independence era for us, because he was born in 1980, St. Lucia attained independence in 1979. And so for us, it was a real great gift, to our country, that a man who was born, after the independence era was able to leave a monument behind that captures the essence of who we are, whence we came, and causes us to reflect, most of the times, as well as look ahead in terms of where we want to go and ensuring that as a nation together, we can achieve the success that we want.
We are at a stage in our socioeconomic political development where we need people who make us question, who make us wonder, who make us contemplate, and cause us to question the status quo, because largely the status quo is not of our making, and if it's not of our making, then it is of someone else's making. When Jalim Yudovic creates a sculpture, as he has for the 40th anniversary of St. Lucia's independence, at least in my mind, he is causing us to ask those very questions.
For these reasons, Jalim Yudovic of St. Lucia is the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence Laureate in Arts and Letters for 2020. We sometimes look to the stars and let our imaginations roam, but then we come back to Earth. Shirin Hack, an astronomer from Trinidad and Tobago, is a rare individual who manages to be on Earth and keep her head in the stars.
My father had a pair of binoculars that would be around, and I took the binoculars and I looked up at the moon at around age 9. And like I say, I never looked back down.
She is the only working astronomer in the Caribbean, which is a feat in itself. It's difficult to imagine astronomy as a viable pursuit in the region given its many earthbound difficulties.
I went to UE, right, natural sciences, and my degree was a major in physics. And after that, the calling remained. I wanted to do astronomy. But anyway I turned, everyone told me, you're not going to get a job with that. You can't do astronomy in Trinidad.
But things have changed since then. Astronomy is no longer just stargazing.
Astronomy is like the queen of the sciences that brings all mathematics, physics, chemistry, and now even biology. So one of the beauty about astronomy and relevance to our people is that it gives you transferable skills.
As the science has progressed, the Caribbean, and Trinidad specifically, has emerged as a site for a cutting-edge development in astronomy.
If you take up a very old textbook in astronomy, you're not even going to find a topic called astrobiology. You take up a current one, they will all have it. So it's a cutting-edge field that developed over the period that I've been involved in astronomy.
I was very surprised, but also very excited about the combination of astronomy and physics with biology, looking at the question of life in the universe. We all wanted to know about Mars on life and what's happening on the other planets. And this was one area of research project which was going to try to answer the questions about whether we have life on Mars and other planets. And if we do, what is it like?
Apparently, there are areas in Trinidad which are perfect for the study of astrobiology.
It's a huge question, and it's one of the big things now, life in the universe. So what could we in Trinidad contribute to such a big question like that? Now, Mars has features like mud volcanoes. So we can't quite go to Mars right now and do testing, but we could go down to the mud volcanoes and see what kind of environment it was regarding whether it was conducive to life. Similarly with the Pitch Lake. Now, the mud volcanoes act as an analog for Mars, but the Pitch Lake, Titan, which is Saturn's largest moon, has an abundance of hydrocarbon lakes. And guess who else has an abundance of hydrocarbon lake? Us in Trinidad.
Trinidad is also well positioned, literally, for observational astronomy. When telescopes in high latitudes cannot view an object, it is often visible here. This has led to a collaboration with foreign universities to set up an observatory in Trinidad.
So one of the projects that we got started with was establishing an observatory here. There was, and to date, there is no research grade observatory in the English-speaking Caribbean. And you had to be everything. You had to be project manager, you had to be architect, you had to be software engineer to make this thing happen. And why were we doing this? Well, it was a project we got involved with Finland, but they are 60 degrees north. So they were monitoring a quasar, which is a black hole kind of system. And when it went below the horizon, they couldn't see it. So guess who could see it? Us, conveniently placed close to the equator, could see it when Finland couldn't. So we took over the observation when it was needed at those times.
She has been affiliated with many international organizations, worked together with them. She has been able to team up with almost 12 universities from North America to apply for a very large grant. It would enable us, one, to develop a large laboratory with equipment which would enable the university to train students, for example, in computer science relevant to data analysis, for example, Python programming, which is a very much used programming language nowadays. We can train also kids at school using data that we get from the atmosphere so that they could at least see the usefulness of physics.
Hack is also a passionate educator, teaching at the university and creating television programs for public education.
She is a phenomenal lecturer, a phenomenal educator. There are very few people that you could ever meet that has such a passion and a drive for the things that they do sometimes in this world, in this university even. And you just walk into a class and you feel it's all there. You feel all the passion laid out on the tables. She would bring her little toys, some Star Trek stuff, some Doctor Who stuff, a little Einstein figurine. At some point in time, I think I remember seeing, and you just feel so immersed in astrophysics and in the course, and there's never dull moments with her.
She is able to propagate physics down to the layperson. I think that would be one of the most significant achievements that she has had in Trinidad and Tobago, and that has allowed us as a department to prosper.
For her achievements as a scientist, teacher and pioneer, Dr. Shireen Hack of Trinidad and Tobago is the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence Laureate in Science and Technology for 2020. One enduring issue that plagues the Caribbean is the large number of people being left behind. This is especially so in Jamaica, with its population of close to 3 million, many of whom live in large inner-city communities. Dr. Olivene Burke is a product of one such community who has made it her life's work to transform them.
So I grew up in the Hannatown section of Western Jamaica. And like the Greater Augustown and the various communities in which I work now, it was a violent community.
What made the difference for Dr. Burke was her parents, whose attitude was crucial to her success.
My parents decided that they would leave everything behind and start all over again. And so we relocated to Vineyard Town.
These early lessons stayed with her through her years teaching in high school. When she returned to UWI as an academic in 2001, she was attracted to Dr. Barry Chevans and the UWI Township Project, which aimed to make interventions in the depressed communities surrounding the UWI Mona campus.
It was focusing on lowering unemployment and also lowering crime and violence. In 2008, it was the first time the principal of the University of the West Indies, Mona campus, was actually going in the community of the Greater August Town, which is just a wall that separates the community from the campus. And he toured the community, and of course, he was also appalled at the findings of abject poverty.
The university agreed to invest in the project. When Shivans passed away in 2010, Dr. Burke took over the initiative and transformed it to the Mona Social Services of today.
The university's goal is to revitalize Caribbean development. And people think of it as economic development, but we're also interested in social development.
The change is achieved through 6 pillars of intervention:
education, health, entrepreneurship, reduction in crime and violence, and sports. So we were using now a holistic approach to social intervention. You can't look at crime and violence reduction without doing something about the education level. If you can't reason things out, then you're going to be acting things out in a negative way.
This meant repairing schools, creating kitchen gardens, and assisting people to start their own businesses and building bonds through sports.
So what we do is we try to use sports to integrate the youths and to bring some sort of cohesion to them, and also to build relationships with them. We try to strengthen the relationship in the community through sports. So the sports has really helped the community in that aspect. So because of the football program, what you find is that some of the youths get scholarships to go to school like Jamaica College, Wolmer's and stuff like that. Some of them even now have the opportunities to be in an academy and they are going overseas.
One of the tangible ways MSS intervened in the communities was awarding scholarships to qualified residents who would not otherwise be able to get to university.
My alternate reality, had I not gotten the Mona Social Services, looks nothing like this. And I can definitely say I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be a township scholar, because my existing reality is, I'd say 75% as a result of their intervention in my life. And coming from the community, I can definitely see how they have a positive impact on persons like me who are promising but don't necessarily have the opportunity to attend tertiary level education.
These students achieve not only for themselves, but for the communities they represent. Sometimes the community stigma is significant.
You can look at it from a number of different perspectives. One is the self-esteem of the individual, his or herself, in terms of going to university, right? Secondly, is the self-esteem of the community.
My community, it's not well liked because a lot of violence occurs on an everyday basis. Many of the members at my community, they also curse a lot. So because of that, they think that everyone from the community won't come out to anything good. We're treated differently sometimes because of our background.
But apart from making meaningful interventions in her home country, Dr. Burke's intervention model can be applied outside of Jamaica as well.
If you do something right, you would like to see it replicated. We think what we do is a model that should be replicated, not just in other campuses where there are tertiary education exercises, but just the fact that you can take what you have learned, what you know, what you research, what you are good at, and use it to help those who are less fortunate, are unable, or didn't have the opportunities. Mona Social Services gives us that kind of vehicle, and if we could do that in a number of countries, we would solve many of our social problems. And remember, social problems solved means you would now solve some of your financial problems, many of your crime problems. It is the key to success, and we must not forget that as we develop our Caribbean.
The achievement is considerable, but the individual who made all those parts work together is equally remarkable.
Dr. Burke provides what you call a fixed asset, because you know that especially in inner city communities, the so-called dons, they provide guns, they provide weed for the youths, and they give them probably like, they just give them a name, I give them like food and all of that. But Dr. Burke provides a platform for us to be educated, and this education lasts us for a lifetime.
For these reasons, Dr. Olivene Burke of Jamaica is the Anthony N. Sapga Caribbean Awards for Excellence Laureate in Public and Civic Contributions for 2020.
Dr. Olivene Burke, could you please join me on stage? And could I invite His Excellency Governor General to present the award to Dr. Olivene Burke.
Firstly, I'd like to extend congratulations to Dr. Burke and to let her know that we're very proud of her, the work she's doing to build our young people and to sustain them, and so that they can sustain themselves. And I want to join with the Answer?
Anthony Sampler?
Yeah, Answer. Oh, that's a term I heard. Sorry. In recognizing, we here in Jamaica join them also in lauding you for your outstanding contribution. And I present this award gladly in recognition of your service. Congratulations.
I now invite Dr. Olivene Burke to give her remarks. Take these for you.
His Excellency, the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen, Governor General of Jamaica, Miss Minna Israel, Chair, Sir Kenneth Hall and Lady Hall, Sir Shredat, Chair, Regional Eminent Persons Panel, virtually, Mr. A. Norman Sabga, Patron, fellow laureates, other distinguished ladies and gentlemen in the audience, Mr. Maureen Seymour, Chair, Jamaica Nominating Committee, families, friends, well-wishers, a pleasant good afternoon to you. I am going to try what they call a line of a song. At church, my young people always say, no one tell Olivene, don't go there. But I'm gonna try it anyway. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. CC Weiner. Now you see why they say I was about to try it, right? No, it wasn't easy, but it was worth it. These words reverberate in my heart as I ascended the podium at this very memorable and extraordinary moment. This afternoon, my words of thank you are just not enough to express my sincere gratitude to the many persons who have contributed in remarkable ways to this prestigious award that has been bestowed upon me.
the Anthony N. Sabgo Caribbean Awards for Excellence in Public and Civic Contribution. I'm extremely humbled and still saying aloud, is it really me? Every time I think about it, I'm saying, is it really? You see, my whole life has been a transformative process, both personally and publicly. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. You see, it was just so natural to give of myself without anticipating reward. That's how my sisters and I were socialized. My rewards over these 35 years lie in the hundreds of youth whose lives have been transformed, the powerless women who have been empowered, the hundreds of at-risk men who have now graduated from tertiary institutions and other institutions, the hundreds of vulnerable senior citizens who were fed or clothed, and the babies, they're my favorite, who were secured at least one proper meal per day. And so it is with a great sense of humility and gratitude that I stand here to express heartfelt thank yous to the many persons who have been instrumental in the transformation of my life's journey, my work, my volunteerism, and now achieving this enviable award with the enthusiasm to continue the process for years to come. I want to begin by thanking Dr. Anthony N. Sabgo and the Ansel Mackall Foundation for conceptualizing our own Caribbean Awards for Excellence. You see, here in our Caribbean and here in Jamaica, oftentimes the value of the work of all the persons have not fully hit home. To Mr. A. Norman Sabgo, the now patron of Answer Awards, I feel extra privileged today. Speaking to him virtually, you see, sir, you and your team have boldly faced the many challenges brought on by COVID-19 since early this year, and have creatively and innovatively over the years, and particular for me today, devised these ways to bestow the awards on my fellow 2020 laureates, and I am deeply indebted, and I thank you. To members of the Regional Eminent Persons Selection Committee and the Country Nominating Committee, I know the task had not been easy. You had so many excellent persons from which to choose, but you chose us. I thank you. When Maria Superville Nielsen called, she carried this wonderful news with such grace and such humility. She was like, Olivene, where are you? I said, I'm driving. She said, okay, well, hold your steering carefully because I have some good news for you. And she delivered the news. I was like, what is she saying? It didn't dawn on me at all. So, thank you, Maria and your team. My answer social media, Facebook and Instagram picture popped out of a cell phone. It was simply amazing. I would not stand here today had it not been for the grace of God and my parents, as was mentioned in the profile. You see, life in the inner city in the 70s, the late 70s and 80s was the most unpleasant experience, and it has etched a never-ending, a lifelong memory on my mind and that of, all my sisters. One of them is here today. But my mama and papa were a good balance of love, firmness, dedication to family, spirituality, and selflessness. So, while I am indeed extremely happy at receiving this award this afternoon, I'm somewhat a little sad. You see, the 30th of this month marks the 9th anniversary of the death of my father. 1 week before I crossed the platform at the UE to receive my PhD, I was going to walk, and Professor Eldemire said, Olivene, you have to do this for Daddy. I will be right there behind you. If I see anything happening, I will pick you up. Now, I'm receiving this prestigious Caribbean award, and he's not here. But I know he's smiling proudly. It's very uncharacteristic of persons from vicious communities to beat the odds to become who I have become and who my scholars especially have become. One of the young ladies you saw there, she dropped out of tertiary education 3 times. Asha Gay Cowell. Miss Minor knows her very well. Asha has beaten the odds. Asha, sir, has achieved the Governor General. Well, even before that, Asha graduated with first-class honors, and she's now pursuing master's degree. Asha graduated with the Governor General's Award for Excellence in Leadership. She also graduated with the Prime Minister's Award, and she is leading several initiatives back there in Augusttown, which is every day in the news. And Asha is just one of the many. There is another excellent lady. She's now pursuing her PhD at the Denver University. Now, had it not been for persons who look beyond themselves to see the good in somebody else and offer them that olive branch to eke out, come out of their present existence and fund their tertiary education, who knows? They, like many of our friends, would perhaps have been statistics. And so the vision of the University of the West Indies Mona campus, it is far-reaching. We have reached 90 this year vulnerable and at-risk youth in the greater Augustown and surrounding communities more common. If we had not reached them, they perhaps would not have been where they are, as successful as they are. I'm also saddened because my mom was supposed to have been here. She's alive, but she lives in Atlanta. And again, COVID. You see, I'm also the fourth of my five sisters. I have no brothers. I'm the fourth one and the first to have walked the route of tertiary education. That has provided tremendous example for the rest of my sisters. One of them, Alice, is the head of the Cultural and Performing Arts Department at Excelsior Community College. But prior to that, she worked for many years as a dance teacher at the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts. At that time, Lady Hall would have also been principal, but she didn't know at the time. We evolved based on good parenting, excellent morals and values, which many of the children, youth in the inner city communities lack. And so our programs have concentrated a lot on parenting, because without proper parenting guidance, attitude, morals, values, the fabric of the society will continue to go north, as they would say. So my mother and my father, two beautiful souls, made tremendous sacrifice to raise us 5 girls. Let me tell you something, talking about girls in communities, inner city communities, it's rough. They are, from time to time, the so-called dons, or persons who would call for your children, yeah, as if they are their own, and you can't say no. Thank God my mother was a praying woman, so I know what my girls are experiencing, and we reach for them. So you see, my work and service to the marginalized have been molded by the realities of my own background and the knowledge that if you can provide light, someone, somewhere out there, to someone, if you can provide that hope, then you would have achieved. The truth of the matter is that I do what I do because I am absolutely passionate about it, and I enjoy it, especially the services that take me outside of the comfort of spaces and into the belly of the inner city schools and communities to transform lives of the less fortunate and often hopeless. I would not even have recognized the gamut of my work that I do had it not been for those who allowed me to slow down and appreciate the many contributions that often go unseen, especially in our own space. I'm really inspired to continue to do what I do best, to fulfill God's promise, God's given purpose for my life and for those who I serve. To Professor Gordon, Shirley, and Ian Boxill, Mrs. Shevans and Mrs. Campbell, Professor Carwell, Mr. Henry, Mr. Wilson, and other persons in the nomination committee, I thank you for seeing beyond beyond the me to the work and for recommending me. Mr. Seymour, for presenting the work to the committee. A very special thanks to you, Minna. You are such, Minna always say, you're such a darling. Minna is such a darling. Minna motivates me. Minna, you inspire me. Lady Hall, you hold a very special place in my heart. In 2001, when I joined the University of the West Indies, I was employed by the office of the principal. Sir Kenneth was the principal at the time. Thank you, sir, for providing me that opportunity. And my supervisor was Lady Hall. Those are persons who have set the platform. Lady Hall was such a remarkable person. It was just two of us. There was nothing that I was doing that she was not in on it. We are preparing for the academic conference, and I am doing the letters, and she's folding the letters and putting them in the envelope, and is there anything else to do? Okay. Whatever I'm doing, she was doing. It shows that leadership, true leadership, is not one that comes from what people say, but what people do. And because of her leadership, Professor Kenneth Hall, I am now able to pass on the same kind of quality to the staff that I work with. There are some personal soundboard, I call them soundboard, that I rely on at the campus. Persons like Professor Eldemire Shero, Tariq Weeks, Michael Edward James, Shanae, Vanessa, Norman. I could name so many persons. There is nothing that I'm doing that I do alone. It is done with a team. My dear principal, Dale Weber, was supposed to have been here. At the last minute, an emergency came up and he asked me to apologize for him. But I thank Professor Weber for being there and supporting the continuation of the work of the Mona Social Services through the 6-pillar engagement. I am honored, and I promise my principal that the university community engagement will be around for a long time. You see, the seeds were planted firmly by the late Professor Barry Shevans. It has taken root. It has now taken on new and expanded dimensions in the last 10 years since his passing. And the Mona Social Services promises to be around for generations to come, because persons who have benefited from the good work of the visionaries before are a part of the project. A special thanks to the communities who afforded me the opportunity to work with them. You can't just go in a community and do what you want. You have to be embraced by that community. They have to trust you. In inner city communities, they don't trust. So you have to work with them over a period of time to gain their trust, to gain their confidence. As a woman, it wasn't easy. Following in the footsteps of Professor Barry Shevans, who had gained their trust and confidence, it was not easy for them when he passed. And so I practically lived in the community. The only thing that was not there is a physical bed. My waking moments were in the communities. And late in the night, I'm there. But I could not do all of that also without my wonderful staff at the Mona Social Services, both past and present. And guess what? My past staff There are no past staff. They are really staff today, unpaid, because they are here volunteering and doing anything, anytime. They watch the social media, they say practically, they call every time. So to Unique, Horatio, Angela, Shada, thank you. We work together as a family to make things work with the little resources that we have, and we will continue to work together. Finally, my dear family and friends, my husband, Harvin, one of the disadvantages of the mask is that you can't see the smile. My husband, Harvin, and children, Kemoy, Kamal, and Katie, I could not have done it without you. You were the wind beneath my wings. I thank you for the sacrifices that you made to advance the work that I do over the years. You have been the driver of the vehicle, the transporter of the materials and equipment, the painter, part of the medical team on the project site, the carrier of the boxes, the banners, the cook. They have been everything. You see, we work together as a family. And my only sweet granddaughter, Sarai, who has just been born, basically, and her mom, Mrs. Burke, have effortlessly joined the team of volunteers. My sister Alice, I love you. She's well donned in her regalia over there. Charmaine, Alberta, Mavis, and my friends Ingrid, Maxine, and Jennifer. Also my Lions Club, Clubites. They all contributed in cash, kind, and time to make the work of the Mona Social Services go on, because the reality is we operate with very little resources. They are the loudest fans. And so today, as I received that award, I receive it on the behalf of all the disadvantaged young ladies and gentlemen in underserved and under-resourced communities. I also receive it on behalf of the late Professor Barry Evans and his wife, who is very much a part of the project now. I also receive it on behalf of the University of the West Indies, who provided that opportunity from 2001, and I receive it on behalf of Jamaica. Thank you to everyone and those that I may have missed, and congratulations to the other laureates who are receiving their rewards in similar fashion. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again.
On behalf of the Anthony N. Sagbo Caribbean Awards for Excellence, it is indeed my pleasure to extend our sincere thanks, first of all, to His Excellency the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen for presenting this award, and also his rich contribution to the success of today's awards presentation. Second of all, to our two distinguished members of the Regional Eminent Persons panel present with us, Sir Kenneth Hall, for his warm welcome and setting the backdrop to today's presentation, and to Mr. Christopher Bovell, who worked along with Sir Kenneth tirelessly to ensure that notwithstanding COVID-19, we would have a successful award ceremony. Sincere thanks to both of them. Third of all, I couldn't allow this moment to pass without thanking the chairman of the Eminent Persons Panel, Sir Shridath, and the chairman of the foundation, Mr. Andrew Sadbo, for cooperating to ensure that Jamaica had a successful awards presentation. It's in this sense that I want to thank our awardee, Dr. Olivene Burke, for her rich work, for her message to us today, and for the University of the West Indies Mona Township Division for the rich work they have done that enabled them to capture this special award. Fourth of all, our sincere thanks to the members of the Jamaica Nominating Committee, many of whom are present with us today. They worked very hard. They have already been named. They worked very hard. Dr. Brian Heap, our Master of Ceremonies, Ms. Minna Israel, a member, Professor Kawo, Ms. Petrona Morrison, Mr. Milton Samuda, Dr. Kimberly Robinson Walcott, and of course yours truly. And in keeping with this, the Answer Foundation thanks the past laureates for their continued distinguished work, which you read in the Gleaner sometimes. It has made it possible for a function like this to happen. Finally, I want to thank Maria Superville Nielsen, especially. They worked extremely hard, along with Dr. Raymond Ramchandra and Olivia Abib, to ensure that we have a function like this in Jamaica. Dunlop Corbin Communications worked very hard with them to put together this very unique and special function. Finally, I want to thank our Master of Ceremonies, Ms. Minna Israel. Thank you very much. And I want to thank the members of the media, represented by Ms. Jordan Kamar, Editor-in-Chief of The Gleaner, Mr. Pete Sankey, Editor, Observer, Ms. Novia MacDonald-White, Jamaica Observer Senior Associate Editor, Lifestyle and Social Content, and Ms. Joseph Tikoya, Gleaner's Lifestyle Editor. We thank you for your support. In closing, we thank the Jamaica Pegasus Hotels management and staff for making it possible to hold these awards. We are indeed grateful. I thank you all.